These are the 7 habits your hair routine needs to fix your damaged hair. When your hair is damaged, it can feel like nothing you do can make it look healthy. Damaged hair can wreak havoc on your self-esteem, can be extremely difficult to style, and will seem like it never grows. And the hard truth is that the reason that your hair is damaged isn't bad genes or inability to afford expensive products, but it's probably you. You have probably been abusing your hair in ways that you haven't even thought of. I'm saving you all the headache that I went through to get to this point because I finally figured out what worked. You can take your hair from damaged to healthy. So for the hair of your dreams, stay to the end. The first simple habit is avoiding mechanical damage. Mechanical damage is putting actual physical stress on your hair by carelessly handling it, doing things that cause friction, or simply not paying attention to it or knowing where it is at all times. And if you have long hair, you'll know what I mean. This one can seem so basic, but it's often the most overlooked. Overlooked because I think a lot of people think of hair damage as being caused by the things that they're doing during the washing and styling process, which is fair because this might be where most damage occurs. But maybe without realizing it, you're trapping your hair under a seatbelt or under a purse strap or under a backpack strap. Or maybe you are mindlessly but aggressively detangling it, brushing or combing it from the roots to the end, ripping it the whole way down. Maybe even when it's wet and most fragile. Maybe you are drying it with a rough towel, causing intense friction and damaging the hair shaft. Or you could be using hair accessories, what I like to refer to as hair trinkets, that can tangle your hair or rip your hair when you try to get them out. Or wearing tight hairstyles that can pull your hair and literally break it. Even throwing those sunglasses on top of your head can cause breakage at your hairline. These things can literally weaken or break off your hair. Whatever it is, it's important that you start paying attention to what you're doing to your hair outside of styling it that is actually damaging your hair, and then change your habits. I have made it a habit that every time I get into my car, I make sure that my hair is off to one side, out of the way of the seatbelt, so that I'm not just mindlessly trapping it underneath. I also do this with a purse strap or a backpack strap. Detangle with a wide tooth comb. Start from the ends and work your way up. And if you're detangling wet hair, detangle with your fingers and use a lot of conditioner. Put your glasses in your shirt instead of on top of your head. Sleep with a satin pillowcase and wear your hair up at night to avoid friction. And I make sure that any of my hair accessories don't have any moving parts that can tangle or pull my hair. Habit number 2 is to avoid any unnecessary or extremely damaging chemical processes. Anytime that you're adding chemicals to your hair, whether it's bleach, dye, perms, or chemical straightening, you are weakening the structure of your hair. Do this repeatedly, especially on long hair, and you will sacrifice the health of your hair. You can use products to hide the damage, but the damage is still there, and you will know. Now, as you know, I no longer dye my hair at all. In fact, just recently and unceremoniously, I realized that I completed my entire gray hair grow out journey. And as a result, my hair is the healthiest that it's ever been. But with that being said, I know that it's difficult, if not impossible, to try to convince everyone out there who wants healthy hair to give up hair dye or any chemical hair processes for that matter. My healthy hair journey actually began before I gave up hair dye. And it started first by letting go of doing the things to my hair that were actually causing the most damage. First, I stopped getting highlights. Because my base color is very, very dark, I needed a lot of bleach to lift my hair to have highlights put in. Serious bleach. That fried my hair, and while I loved the color, I hated the way that my hair looked, if that makes any sense at all. So at first, I paid extra for my stylist to use bond-building products like Olaplex during the actual bleaching process in order to help relieve some of the damage that was occurring. But even with that, I still didn't like how my hair continued to look like straw. So then I just went for overall single process color, and then I learned how to touch up my roots myself. Finally, I just stopped chasing the roots entirely and I gave up all hair dye. Any chemical process will damage your hair, and if you can't give them up entirely, and believe me, I get it, then just make sure that your stylist is using some type of product to help mitigate some of the damage damage and that you're following the recommended care instructions to a T. Also, maybe choose a color that's a little closer to your natural hair color, and that will be less maintenance and you won't have to touch up as often. Then you won't be exposing your hair to damage as often. Habit number 3 is using less heat on your hair and maybe even learning how to embrace your natural hair texture. Now notice that I didn't say to stop using heat on your hair entirely. I mean, let's get real. This is not natural. My hair is not naturally straight. I have naturally wavy hair, but I love the way that my hair looks when it's straight. But I've also learned how to love my wavy hair. And since I've given up hair dye and all chemical processes, I noticed that my wavy hair is a lot easier to style. The healthier that my hair has become since ditching the dye, my natural wavy hair takes way fewer products and way less effort to get it to look good than it ever did when my hair was damaged. So you don't need to give up heat entirely, but you can cultivate some habits to where you use less heat on your hair. Less heat on your hair means less damage to your hair. By learning to love your natural hair texture, you can actually give your hair a break from heat styling tools. I used to straighten my hair every time I washed it, but since learning how to love and embrace my wavy hair, I wear it both ways and I don't straighten it every time. So by cutting down on how often you use heat tools on your hair, you're reducing the frequency of exposure to extreme heat on your hair, which is less damaging. And this gets into healthy hair habit number 4, which is to use heat protectant on your hair every time you heat style it. This little habit has been a game changer for me, and it literally takes under a minute to add this to your routine. Heat protectants form a barrier between your hair and your heat tools, preventing your hair from breaking, preventing hair color from fading, and in the case of gray or silver hair, preventing it from yellowing. I prefer to use a heat protectant that also has SPF in it because UV radiation can fade artificial hair dyes, but it can also make gray or silver hair turn yellow. It's actually kind of crazy how I would use heat on my hair sometimes multiple times a day because I live in a very humid climate, and I used to never use heat protectant on my hair, and I wondered why my hair was so damaged. And a heat protectant that I absolutely love is from Flourish Beauty Lab. This is the Honey Blossom and Marshmallow Root UV and Heat Protectant Spray. It has an amazing mild scent and it works wonders on my hair without leaving any weird residue. Not only that, it's a Silver Sister and woman-owned company, and I just love that. So I put a link in the description below, so make sure that you check them out. And here's healthy hair habit number 5, which is making oiling your hair a habit. The foundation of beautiful hair is healthy hair, and adding hair oiling as part of your healthy hair routine can make an incredible difference in the condition and shine in your hair. Since I've started oiling my hair once or twice a month, I have noticed extreme improvements in the texture of my hair, and it is definitely less coarse and less frizzy for sure. Now, I don't heat the oil, but some people do heat the oil. If you're gonna heat the oil though, please be careful. I oil my hair, not so much applying it to the scalp, but I apply it kind of to the middle and the ends of my hair, and I finger comb it through, just making sure that I'm saturating every strand. Some people do put it on their scalp as well. I like to leave it on for at least an hour, but sometimes I leave it on overnight. If I do leave it on overnight though, I am gonna put on a shower cap because it will make a mess. My preferred oil that I like to use is castor oil. Then I just wash it out and then I style it as usual, and that's pretty much it. It makes my hair incredibly shiny and it controls the frizz. Now, habit number 6 is getting frequent trims. I used to be of the mindset that if you want long hair, you don't cut it. And I think that a lot of people believe that if they trim their hair, well then they're obviously losing length and that it won't get long. Interestingly though, when my hair was damaged, it did not seem like it was growing. If your hair is damaged, you might not be gaining length, not because it's not growing from the roots, but because it's breaking off the ends. So you can do all the scalp treatments and take all the hair growth vitamins that you want, but your damaged hair is probably going to break and snap off, making you think that it's not growing from the roots. So cut those damaged ends off. And again, I get it. This was a very hard one for me to grasp as well. I kept my hair long during my entire gray hair grow out, but committing to more frequent trims was the fastest path to long, healthy hair. And finally, habit number 7 is washing your hair less frequently. So letting your hair get a little greasy is not a bad thing. The washing process itself can be damaging due to the risk of mechanical damage, but also due to the use of shampoos that can strip your hair of its natural moisture. I used to wash my hair maybe 3 times a week. If I was heat styling my hair that often, then that meant that I was exposing my hair to extreme heat 3 times a week. And since I've gone gray, I've tried to go a lot longer in between washes. Now, I know that this can be very challenging, especially if you live in a hotter climate, or if you're working out very often, or maybe you just sweat a lot. But overall, I've gotten to where I can get away with washing my hair once a week. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it does get a little bit trickier if I'm wearing it wavy, because sometimes it's a little harder to get that good refresh, and I feel like I need to just wet my entire head all over again. Or I might have to wash it an additional time, but I'm not putting heat on it, so there's that. It takes commitment, but making some small changes to your hair care routine can have dramatic results. So if you want to learn more about how to care for gray hair in particular, then make sure you watch this video. So as usual, thanks for watching, and I will see you in that video.